Hey folks, my name is Miss LeWarn. I am one of the many amazing literacy teachers here in the Iowa City Schools. I teach at Northwest. So if I have you, you're probably like, duh. And if I don't have you, it's really good to meet you. I am here to kind of like soar into the next step, kind of the last sort of step of the hyperdocs and the discussion pieces that you're going to really be thinking about and creating and bringing to your third discussion with your literature circle groups. So what I am really wanting to dive into with you today is not only my amazing use of memes and Google Slides, which is on the up and up, but is also how do you really take all that beautiful work you've been doing to discover your topic, your theme topic, in your text in your lit circle book. And also, like with hyperdoc 2, you were looking at all of the amazing passages that really exemplify and connect the dots with the theme topic that you've been going with. What we're really going to talk about today is how do you take all that stuff floating in your head and move it into a really wonderfully crafted theme statement. So that is what I kind of mean by how do we grow our text theme topic into an excellent theme statement. The things that you're going to need out right now are any sort of paper. I have a suggestion of kind of like a worksheet, you could call it, a place to write down kind of the work that we're going to be doing today. But any sort of like paper or Google Doc where you could take notes would be excellent. A writing utensil. It would be really helpful to kind of maybe have the work that you have already done with your book's topic out with you, as well as your text itself. So let's move on. What I think is really important first is just to remind ourselves exactly what is theme. The theme idea, or the theme rather, is this main idea, or just definitely this message of a story. And yes, your book can have so many messages. If you think back, if you've read The Outsiders at this point at Northwest, we've talked about the fact that there are so many messages, especially depending upon who you are, the messages that you're going to pick up and care about and really like take to heart, and the things that you're going to, that will sort of marinate over time with you. So let's just remember that a theme statement is always going to be about one of the few things, sorry about that, technology taking over, is going to be about life, society, or human nature. Theme statements are always going to be timeless and universal. If you've already been talking about this in class, this should be a refresher that a theme statement is going to be timeless and is going to be universal, meaning it is not a message or a truth that expires over time. It's not like saying like in 2050, the sky is actually going to be green. So up until that point, the sky is blue is only a truth. That's like kind of a super lame, but an example of something that is a truth that would expire. And a universal statement means it's something that is going to apply to everyone. It's not just a truth that applies to a person living in Iowa. It's a truth that's going to apply to someone living in Cuba or Russia or Antarctica. Most likely. They're kind of probably cold, but you know what I'm saying. So the statement is also not just a word, but a whole sentence. So when we're saying theme statement, we're moving from that idea of just a topic and this swirl of ideas into specific, starts with a capital letter, has a subject and predicate, and an ending punctuation mark sentence. So here we go. If you have me as a teacher, you know that I think it's really important to talk about why is this theme statement really important and necessary, especially since you're moving into doing this with a literature circle group. So you really want it to be something that is like worth your time, right? I mean, when you meet with people, you want it to be something that isn't just like, hey, this is my idea, great, next, great, bell rings. You want this to be something that actually makes you think about something. So when you think about, I just have on the screen, and you can, of course, pause at any time. But when I think about theme, I think about the fact that you are really going to be sharing something that you have gathered from your book, a lesson, a moral, a message that will stay with you and absolutely applies to at least one area of your life that you think is fascinating, that you would want to share with another human because you feel it could change the way that they live the rest of their lives, which is like, whoa, right? Big responsibility. This is something that could absolutely and should absolutely stick with a person. So I want you to kind of understand that the theme statement work is there because of the fact that it should move mountains, which is like super corny to say, I've realized, but it should be something that is incredibly important and not just something that you're doing to just do it. How do we exactly write this theme statement? 4 steps. First, find your topic, right? You've already been doing that. 2, you're going to write a specific statement with me. 3, you're going to write a universal statement. Remember, because we've talked about how theme statements need to be timeless and universal. And 4, you're going to write a final, your best, like the final revised, just like any piece of work where you craft something and then you make it your best revised, edited statement. Today, we're really going to I'm taking you from step one all the way to 2, 3, and then your final theme statement, hopefully that you will spend some time crafting to bring to your lit circle. So let's start with locating your step 1. This should not be something that I necessarily have to do with you, but you should be at a place where you already feel, and you can obviously read this slide, you should feel that you know like the word. Like for instance, is your theme topic isolation? Is your theme topic abuse? Is your theme topic survival or, sadness or encouragement, something, whatever your theme topic is. I want you to right now, and I have that little box in the bottom of the screen because in class we kind of have like step 1 and we like really visualize our topic. What is it that we're starting with? So at this time, you can even pause this slide, retrieve your theme topic for your Lit Circle book right now. I'll give you that moment. Now, secondly, and you're going to want to be able to have this in some sort of notes or you obviously can refer back to these slides, but step 2 is all about writing a specific statement. What does that look like? 1, you're going to be identifying your topic word, right? And you're going to be writing a sentence. We know that a theme statement is a sentence. So really, you're going to be writing a statement with a subject and predicate that tells me, and I'm right here on the slides too, so you can follow along with me, a character or group of characters that experiences something or does something in your book that teaches the character you're specifically focusing on something about your selected topic. So you're really wanting to say, okay, who are the characters or the group of characters that really relate or have something to do with that word topic I've picked out? This will help you feel very focused already about like the specific areas of the text that really drive that topic home, that really dwell on that. And then 3, this statement will always have something to do with the story you're specifically talking about at that time. So you want to make sure that the specific statement, step 2, is not already this like bold universal statement. It should have words that are directly specific to your story, character names, town names, setting words, anything that has to do with conflict about your specific text. I've also bullet pointed below good old language arts skills, subject and predicate definitions. You can pause that if you need to kind of just like review. So step 2, writing a specific statement. This is like my little coined specific statement equation. You might want to write this down, aka you better write it down because who wouldn't want this free, amazing knowledge? Can you tell I'm a little like on coffee right now? Okay, so I'm just going to read this equation. And this is sort of like, I feel very invigorated when I have a fill in the blank for the first time because I feel like it like sort of bridges the gap for me the first time I'm trying to figure something out. So on the screen, there is a little, in quotation marks, a fill in the blank. So for instance, a specific character experiences, or an action word here, you insert your topic, when they do something and they learn something about that, something happens to them because of that action. So here is just an example, right? In my class, we read the really scary story of the Telltale Heart, where this narrator is basically telling the story about how he confesses to a crime of killing a man because he felt so guilty. So a specific statement example would be, when the narrator experiences guilt at the end of the Telltale Heart after killing the old man, he admits to his deed. Just give that a moment to kind of sink in. This is an example of a specific statement that I have literally highlighted the same words that I have inserted. So see how like this is yellow? I made the narrator yellow. Okay, so moving to the next slide. Let's take one of my favorite stories, The Tortoise and the Hare, and maybe you did this with me in class already, but a refresh is never a bad idea. The Tortoise and the Hare, I've got this story right here, so if you want to just read over it yourself, you can totally pause this and do that. So here we have Aesop's Fables, The Tortoise and the Hare, and I have identified, as you can see right here, that my topic idea is that I want to be talking about hard work, okay? And because I feel like the tortoise obviously was working real hard and totally had a wonderful mindset when he was persistent in the race. So I'm going to try to write a specific statement, and I've put on here the equation so that you could insert different things into the equation. So if my topic word is hard work, I'm going to automatically think about the character that really relates to that. It's not really the hare, it's more the tortoise. So the tortoise worked hard when the hare was sleeping, and because of that, what was the outcome of the action? He won the race. Awesome. So that is what you should be doing with your specific topic with your circle book that you're reading right now. You should be moving to a place where you can look at the topic and insert these specific equation words into what you see here. So then once you have a specific statement, how do you write a universal statement, which is step 3? Okay, so we know that a theme statement is timeless and universal. Obviously, you can rewind to kind of remember exactly what timeless and universal means. So how do we make a specific statement that is specific to your story sound more universal? Well, let me tell you. Writing a universal statement is kind of a 2-step process. First, I want you to look at your specific statement and eliminate all story-specific words. These are the character names, the events, the things that only related to that story. So like when I was like, the tortoise worked really hard. Okay, what's a specific word there? Tortoise, you're so right? Okay. So you would eliminate those words and you would kind of look at the watered down or more or less just like the skimpier version of the statement minus that. And then you would add a phrase like perhaps the author believes that or a person needs to learn. And in eliminating those specific words, you should look at the skeleton of the sentence, like the work hard and the winning and the finishing first. And when you look at those words, and we'll look at a few examples in a moment, you will come up with examples that are much more simplified and do not include those specific words, only the topic and the outcome of exhibiting that specific behavior or that topic. For instance, there are often hazards when passing judgment. It's not like Jim Bob, when he was doing that thing of judging his sister, he fell down a flight of stairs. No. There are just often hazards when passing judgment. It is universal, timeless, could apply to anyone. Or a person should learn to think before they speak. Also, a universal, timeless statement does not have any specific words in it. I'm going to just put this up here for a second for you to pause and kind of look at other examples of universal theme statements dealing with appearances, kindness, freedom, or growing up. Read over this and sort of freeze it and look at the highlighted subject and predicate and just understand, hopefully, or rather, I guess, try to understand the use of the topic in the sentence as well as a subject and predicate that are more or less a message or warning against something or what will happen if something happens. So with the tortoise and the hare, I've literally taken the specific statement we wrote a moment ago, taking out the specific words tortoise and race. Working hard will always pay off in the end. Sounds pretty universal, doesn't include any specific words, is definitely a message. And then finally, how do I craft your final theme statement? Look at the universal statement you wrote in step 3. Ask yourself A, B, C, D, E. You can take a moment to read over those yourself, but I want to specifically look at E. Lastly, apply the duh factor. That might seem a little, I don't know, rude, but it's kind of this silly thing that me and my students do where we talk about, okay, is this sounding just like I'm saying a duh thing? Does this sound like a retelling or a summary rather than a fascinating message? Here is when someone is alone, they tend to feel sad. How could I make that sound better? Perhaps a person should be aware of isolation because it could lead to depression. Be aware of rich vocabulary, strong warning, and urgency. There we go. Your theme statement worked.